The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been this silent. 12 species, representatives of civilizations that had spanned millennia, sat in stunned disbelief as the holographic display flickered with the aftermath of battle. The Krathic swarm, the terror that had consumed 17 star systems in 3 months, lay decimated across the Epsilon sector. Their bioships drifted as lifeless husks, their hive mind finally severed. Lisa Chen stood at the central podium, her Earth Defense Force uniform crisp despite the 72 hours of continuous combat she'd just endured. Her dark eyes surveyed the council members with the calm composure of someone who'd stared death in the face and walked away victorious. Behind her, the holographic Earth insignia rotated slowly, almost mockingly peaceful. Ambassador Chen, the Archon of Velthar, began, his crystalline form refracting the chamber's light into rainbow patterns across the walls. Your species has accomplished what we deemed impossible. The Krathics have plagued this galaxy for 3,000 cycles. We had accepted them as an inevitable force of nature. You accepted extinction. Lisa replied coolly. We don't. Murmurs rippled through the assembled delegates. The serpentine scary ambassador coiled tighter around her seat. The gaseous luminar flickered with what might have been anxiety. The losses your species must have sustained, the Archon continued, his voice carrying genuine concern. We calculate that humanity deployed every available warship, every soldier, every resource. The cost must be minimal, Lisa interrupted. The chamber fell silent again. I'm sorry? The Archon's form pulsed with confusion. Our losses were minimal. 12 ships, 374 personnel. Lisa's expression remained neutral, professional, regrettable, but within acceptable parameters. The Y-Goth representative, a towering being of chitinous armor and 6 eyes, leaned forward. Impossible. Our intelligence showed your species deployed 700 vessels. The Krathic swarm numbered in the hundreds of thousands. The mathematics are simple. A deep voice cut through the chamber. Vin Diesel stepped forward from the human delegation, his presence commanding immediate attention. As Fleet Admiral of humanity's 3rd Expeditionary Force, he wore his scars like medals and his rank like a second skin. The silver stars on his collar caught the light as he moved to stand beside Lisa. You want to talk mathematics? Vin's voice carried across the chamber with unwavering confidence. Let's talk mathematics. 700 ships. That's what we sent to Epsilon Sector. That represents approximately 0.03% of Earth's active fleet. The chamber erupted. Delegates rose from their seats, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of disbelief. The Archon raised a crystalline appendage for silence. That's impossible, the scary ambassador hissed. No species maintains a fleet of that magnitude. The resource requirements alone would bankrupt systems. Lisa allowed herself the smallest smile. You've misunderstood humanity since we first made contact 20 years ago. You saw our single solar system and assumed limitation. You saw our divided nations and assumed weakness. You saw our short lifespans and assumed we thought small. We think in generations, Vin added. His arms crossed over his broad chest. While you've spent millennia comfortable in your territories, we've spent centuries preparing for the worst. Every human learns to fight. Every colony has a defense force. Every station is a fortress. We don't have a military, ambassador. We are a military. The holographic display shifted, responding to Lisa's neural commands. Images flooded the chamber, massive shipyards orbiting Jupiter, underground facilities on Mars, the rings of Saturn bristling with weapon platforms. The asteroid belt transformed into a defensive grid. Colony worlds light years away with populations numbering in the billions, each one fortified. The Krathics were a test, Lisa continued. When they entered our space, we had a choice, commit everything and hope for victory, or hold back and prepare for failure. We chose a third option. We sent a scouting force, Vin said flatly. 700 ships was us knocking on the door. The luminar delegate pulsed rapidly, its gaseous form swirling with agitation. This is madness. Why would any species maintain such militant readiness? The resource expenditure, the social cost, because we've seen what happens when you're not ready. Lisa's voice carried a hard edge now. Earth has known war since before we reach for the stars. We've nearly destroyed ourselves a dozen times. We learned the hard way that peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the presence of overwhelming force held in check by wisdom. Vin gestured to the holographic remains of the Krathix fleet. You called them unstoppable. We call them a warning. Because if they could evolve, if they could organize, if they could threaten this council, then something worse is out there. And when it comes, we'll be ready. The Archon's form dimmed, a sign of deep contemplation. You speak of worse threats. What could be worse than the swarm? Lisa and Vin exchanged a glance. A moment of silent communication between warriors who'd seen too much. You don't want to know what humanity fears, Lisa said quietly. But when it arrives, if it arrives, you'll be grateful we're paranoid. Vin stepped forward, his voice carrying a promise and a warning. The Galactic Council has operated on the assumption of civilized warfare for millennia. Agreed upon boundaries, acceptable losses, measured responses. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. Humanity doesn't do acceptable losses. We do total war or total peace. There's no middle ground. The chamber remains silent as the human delegates turn to leave. Ambassador Chen, the Archon called out. Your species frightens us. Lisa stopped at the chamber's entrance, looking back over her shoulder. Good. Fear keeps you alert. And you'll need to stay alert, Archon, because that Krathix swarm. She smiled, and it was the smile of a predator. That was just the first wave. The doors closed behind the humans, leaving the Galactic Council to contemplate a terrifying new reality. Humanity hadn't shown its strength to boast. They'd shown it as a warning. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, the rest of humanity's fleet waited, watching, ready. The galaxy would never underestimate Earth again.